All right, everyone, welcome back to Hot Route Takes. I'm your host, Chase Owens, along with my good friend here, Christian Mills. We are missing our third co host, as usual, Brian Sarver, on a work trip, vacation, if you want to call it, but he is claiming he's working. So we'll let him handle that business and get back with us when we all get together, hopefully Sunday night, for the recap of NFL Week 14. That said, we have some game picks to get into in this episode, and there's 16 games with every team having a bye week so far in the NFL season. No more of those. We got two Monday night games, a Thursday night game, and a Sunday night game, along with a jam-packed Sunday slate of football as always, and some interesting matchups to say the least. But Christian, since it's just me and you here, I got a little time before we get into our picks. How was your range session yesterday, man? I gotta ask for
It's
the
going
people. The
good
people
on my
want to know
side,
because the
man. It's going good, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. 56, a little net out there, ringing it. 3 wood. Hadn't never used a 3 wood like that. Got a new set, got a 3 wood. I can't wait for you to just see it on the course, man.
Okay, for those who don't know, me and Christian have a 2v2 coming up. I'll be playing him and his cousin along with me and my playing partner in a little bet and next Saturday, not this Saturday, but the 16th, I believe. And I will say I played with my playing partner today, Christian, and you know him very well, obviously. My hopes of winning this thing wearied a little bit today.
Oh
In a
no.
way, I'm not gonna drag my playing partner through the mud in this episode, but
Woo.
there's some reason for concern to say the least, and I wasn't playing particularly well either. It was okay, but man, he looked pretty rough today. But that's the golf talk. I just had to get that in the open air and kill a little time since it's just me and you on this episode before we dive straight into football talk. So that out the way, we'll get into these game picks. The Thursday night game, I'll try to hype it up as much as we can, but it's two teams that I wouldn't tune in if I was a NFL fan expecting to see much offense, if any. I saw a funny comment regarding your Chargers victory, the 6-0 victory over the Patriots last week, and someone said that, man, when they kicked that second field goal, they really started to run up the score for no reason. So that's kind of the feeling with Patriots offense in the NFL this year is that if you can score anything, the Pats are going to have a hard time matching you. And the Steelers don't have the most potent offense, but one that looks to have a lot of holes in their loss against Arizona last week. It'll be Mitchell Trubisky at QB for the injured Kenny Pickett. Does he do enough things to get Pittsburgh to an 8-5 record after Thursday night, Christian? I say yes, just solely because the Pats are really, really bad. But do you have an upset in this one?
I mean, God, I just cannot see it. I don't think any quarterback they put out. I know they're talking about getting another quarterback out there to get in some formations, but I just don't see that even being enough. Definitely against the Steelers defense, but I think without Kenny Pickett, they'll get enough points. I mean, this team, we've seen New England struggle against a Chargers defense that I've not been very positive about any. So a defense that I've been very positive about on the other side is the Steelers. So I think just their defense can only just hand this game to the Pittsburgh side.
Yeah, I think that's the way most people see this game turning out. The Patriots offense, for that matter, has given you no reason to expect any type of outburst coming, and against a good defense on the road, prime time Thursday night football, hard to believe that that performance is on tap for the Pats and their fans. So 2-11 start kind of looks to be well on its way in New England. And that's not something I was prepared to say at the beginning of the year. I didn't think the Patriots were a great team, but I didn't think they were a 2-11 team. So interesting the way things unfold in this NFL football season. As we get to Sunday, Christian, the first matchup here is an NFC South showdown. Really for first place, the Falcons lead it at 6-6 right now, but Tampa Bay Bucks are in second place with a 5-7 record. So a win here on the road could vault them into the first place tie with Atlanta. I went back and forth, and I know Tampa Bay flirted with a loss against Carolina last week, but I think Baker's playing much better QB than Desmond Ridder right now. that said, I think Atlanta's defense is playing pretty well, and Bijan will just kind of single handedly carry this game and win the Falcons the football game and give them a firm hold on the NFC South lead. So I'm taking the Falcons in this one.
I actually went with my guy Baker. I just think, I understand it was the Jets defense last week, but Atlanta's offense since Desmond Ritter's took over has just not looked that great to me, and I'd just rather take Baker, and definitely Mike Evans has been very productive this year over a Desmond Ritter that has shown, I guess, some sights, but it's just not been pretty, at least, I mean, to me at least. And just, Bijan just whenever we say he's going to get going, it just seems like Arthur Smith he might be listening to the pod and go, oh, y'all think he's going to get going this week? Let me show you. So I'm not going to get saying it's going to be a Bijan Robinson show. I will say Kyle Pitts has got more involved each week now, but I just think I like what Tampa Bay's doing. Their defense has been good, but also been very, very bad at times. But with a game like this, and you're about to take that at least a tie for the division, I would think Tampa Bay would show up, and probably Baker played great in this game because weather won't be a problem in Atlanta in the dome.
Yeah, yeah, I see your reasoning for that. I definitely trust the Tampa Bay offense more right now, and especially at the quarterback position. So I think this game has the makings to go down to the wire, and we'll see who comes up top on that NFC South matchup. We stay on the NFC side of things and get into the North Division with the leading team right now, the Detroit Lions, and sitting at 9-3. They will travel to Chicago to take on the 4-8 Bears. We talked a good bit about Detroit in our takes pod last time we were together with Brian, and he's on the side where he sees them as fraudulent pretty much. I'm in the area, I think they're a middle ground team very comfortably, that second tier in the NFC. And whereas you talked on last time, you believe in the coaching and the ground game, so I don't really expect you to tear from that and pick Chicago in this game. And I'm kind of with you on that side as well. I think Gibbs and company will have big days on the ground, and Detroit ekes out a road victory to move to 10-3.
Yeah, with Brian, on his work trip, like we said earlier in the pod, he's in Detroit. So if he's gonna, say what he said on the pod in that area and feel pretty confident about it, I don't think he would do that. But you know, just saying that, I just think Detroit, like I said, I believe in them. I really do this year. I understand there's been some rough games, but I just definitely against the Chicago team they're familiar with. Justin Fields has had some very highs, very lows, coming back, really shown some life, but I just don't think that's enough for a Detroit team that's, at the top. They want to win. They've shown it. And I just think they're going to be way too much for a Chicago team to really keep up with.
Yeah, Chicago's offense is so muddied right now. Like, I know Justin Fields can throw a short pass to DJ Moore and expect him to do things. He can still throw a deep ball pretty well, but they just get nothing working over the middle of the field in those intermediate routes. And that's where, with so many teams playing, don't let the deep ball beat you, too high safety most of the time. You got to be better in that area. Detroit's pretty good in it, and that ground game to pair makes the offense very dangerous. So we're both on Detroit there. Moving along to the AFC side of things, finally, we got AFC wildcard implication game here between the 7-5 Colts traveling to the Cincinnati Bengals, who picked up a surprise upset win over the Jacksonville Jaguars on Monday Night Football, despite not having Joe Burrow. The game went to overtime. It ended up being a battle of backups once Trevor Lawrence went down with his injury, but Cincinnati came out on top, and they'll be hosting the Colts this go around, another AFC South team. Obviously, we don't think the Colts are quite as good as Jacksonville, but they've been good enough to steal games with their defense and ground game all year. But last week, Gardner Minshew looked very, very productive, and I kind of expect that to keep rolling, and they get Cincinnati coming off one less day to prepare. Maybe the ground game gets a little more going against that poor Bengals rush defense, and that ends up being the catalyst for me. And I'm taking the Colts to move to 8-5.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I kind of been on the Colts, wagon pretty much all year, and I just think their defense, like I've been beating the drum, has improved almost every week, and they've looked great to me. And I just think, the Jags defense just was not that great Monday night. I mean, they couldn't stop anything that Cincinnati did to them. So I just think, they're not going to be able to do that against this Colts team. They're not to work for it, and I just don't see their offense. They do have great playmakers everywhere, but I just don't see it happening again like they did to Jacksonville. And I just think Zach Moss will probably get going this week, like you said, with Cincinnati's defense really not being able to stop the run all year.
Yep. I'm with you there. The next one, we have that aforementioned Monday night losing team, Jacksonville. They'll be traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns and Joe Flacco and company. I'm not sure the status of Trevor Lawrence. All reports indicate he will probably be out of this game. If that's the case, I'm definitely going to go with Cleveland because I trust their defense more. I trust their ground game more. And Joe Flacco didn't look too bad last week. He had the one pretty bad turnover, but that was more of a ball late in the game. He was just kind of throwing up, giving his guy a chance. That said, if Trevor Lawrence plays, I would switch my pick. But right now, yeah, Cleveland defense, I would expect them to bounce back after a rough showing last week.
Honestly, crazy enough, I think with or without Trevor Lawrence, I'd go with Cleveland. I just think their defense, I understand Myles Garrett does not look like Myles Garrett right now, but I just think really Joe Flacco, another week in the system, I think that helps him a lot. I mean, he threw for, how many times last week? I mean, an insane number. I know it was over 40, but
It's like 40.
another
It's like
week,
44.
yeah,
Yeah.
another week in this offense to help him so much. And we see that him and Elijah Moore, from I think honestly his time with the Jets, they still have a little connection there. I know Amari Cooper got banged up. I would hope he'll be back for this game. And if that's the case, I think Cleveland really could put Jacksonville away maybe pretty easily if their defense really comes back to that play that we knew they had early on to the year.
Yeah, interesting take there. Cleveland desperately needing a win to stay in the AFC wildcard race because there's a lot of good 6-6, 7-5 teams. So obviously that game has big AFC playoff implications. Moving across to the NFC side of things, we get to the other NFC South matchup of the week. That's New Orleans Saints sitting at 5-7, second place in that NFC South, hosting the now 1-11 Carolina Panthers. And the Saints got behind very big, very early against the Lions, but came back and made a game of it. I think they'll get better start out of the gates at home against this Panthers team and really cruise in this one. I know the Panthers are they're pretty much just trying to make it to the end of the year and find out what guys are going to be on this roster for next year's team and see what guys can earn a spot in that role and figure a way to build around Bryce Young a little better next year. So I'm not going to be picking the Panthers in maybe any game to rest of the way. So give me the Saints.
I honestly I'd love to see the Saints kind of go into a tank phase just at the part of their build and everything. But that's a talk for another time. But I just think honestly the Saints, like you said, just slow start. Alvin Kamara, they're getting Taysom Hill involved again. I know he goes a couple weeks involved, not involved. Now he's back involved, and I just think, honestly, I'm at the point where I just don't want to see Derek Carr. I think Jameis Winston would be a nice maybe moving forward. Definitely against a Carolina team, but all signs point definitely Derek Carr. They went out and got him, but I just think Alvin Kamara and then Chris Olave, just the weapons they have on the Saints offense is just going to be too much for Bryce Young and Adam Thielen to keep up with.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there, Christian. We're not differing much, but there's not a lot of split hair games so far. This next one maybe could be one, but the way this Jets offense has been looking, I have a hard time picking them, and especially when you got C.J. Stroud on the other side of the ball. I think he does more than enough, even without Tank Dell. You saw Nico Collins step up last week. I expect more of the same. It may not be Nico Collins, but it could be a Noah Brown or whoever they have in that wide receiver room to step up in Tank Dell's absence. So I think C.J. Stroud gets the Texans to an 8-5 record with a road victory over the New York Jets.
I'm gonna go with Houston, but I will say I think C.J. Stroud and how he performs in this game says a lot to me. I think he's played a lot of, good defenses, but I still view the Jets defense as elite. And him being a rookie, I can see them maybe taking advantage of him somehow, some way in their system that they run. So I'm very interested to tune in to watch this game. I know there's been maybe some words said that Zach Wilson, they want to bring him back as a starter, but even then, I just don't see this offense definitely keeping up with Houston. But CJ Stroud, I'm just interested to see how he does it, but I do see a win coming from CJ Stroud.
Yep, we're same there. Next up in the 1 o'clock window, the last 1 o'clock window game of Sunday will be my Ravens hosting the LA Rams. My Ravens sit at 9-3, coming off a bye week, and the Rams, one of the hotter teams in football, 3 straight wins, including their win last week. Rams offense looking really good. I think that's a great matchup against my Ravens defense, who have been one of the stronger units all year. That said, a little game time note: it looks like the weather rolling into Baltimore on Sunday is expected to be very cold and very rainy. When I take that into an account, I could think this would be a low scoring affair and a ground game dominated offensive side between each team. And when I think of that, I like our line. I know I've harped on it at times past, but I like our line better than the Rams, and I like our ground game with more weapons better than the Rams. And I know Kyron Williams is a very good player, but I just like what we have to offer on that side of the ball. So I'm going to take us to eke out a low scoring game winning, maybe Justin Tucker. He's been getting a lot of flack. I don't know if you've caught this, Christian, but across NFL landscape, Twitter, all this other things, a lot of people saying Justin Tucker is washed. And I will love the guy forever. He's been one of the best for a long time. But, things get a little hectic when you miss a few 50-plus yard field goals and have them blocked and whatnot. So maybe a little redemption game for Justin Tucker. And I think this one ends up being close, low scoring, but the Ravens come out victorious in the end.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, after what I said on our last pod, the take pods, nobody listened. I mean, I have the Ravens, I mean, going pretty far in this thing now at this point that people know. So it'd be, I mean, I can't pick against them pretty much at this point in the year. So I have y'all winning this. I think Mitchell, y'all get him involved in the running game. I expect him. I think last week he jumped, not last week, but the week before the bye week, he jumped up to like a 46% snap count. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for y'all to get him more involved, and it's going to be a cold game. That dude's electric, and that'd just be something y'all can add to the offense. That, I mean, me and you both said on the pod, it has some highs, has some lows, but if y'all get Mitchell involved, I think that'd be just an electric piece y'all can add and go into the playoffs with a guy like that would just add to this offense and just. I mean, Matthew Stafford has looked great coming back, and then he made Cleveland's defense I praised look kind of not that great, but I just think, Cleveland's defense, Myles Garrett, that hit just takes a lot more on them than what y'all have going on in Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm with you there on the Keaton Mitchell love. They have slowly fed him more and put more on his plate as far as knowing the playbook and what to do out there each week and with a bye week and his biggest game last time he played in terms of snap percentage. I would expect that to just keep ratcheting up as we get towards the playoff, and it's exciting because once J.K. went down, the Ravens' run game was really missing that home run threat, and he's provided that since he's come off the IR. So certainly something to look forward to in the Rams Ravens game on Sunday at 1 o'clock. As we get into the 4 o'clock slate of games, the first one here is the 6-6 Minnesota Vikings and the now 5-7 Las Vegas Raiders. This will be taking place in Las Vegas, and I went out on a limb a little here. I haven't been picking many upsets, and I've been pretty out there in my Vikings love. Before I make this pick, Christian, is Justin Jefferson playing? Do you know?
I've seen where he's off the injury report, but I hadn't heard that he's going. I know he's been practicing, but I hadn't heard like he's definitely playing or not playing. I do know the name Joshua Dobbs, definitely starting this week. That was something on the limb too, but I'm not sure about Jefferson.
Yeah. Okay, so like with that in mind, I see the Vikings are slight favorites in this one, and Jefferson doesn't have an injury diagnosis right now. If he was to play, I could talk myself picking Minnesota, but for the way O'Connell's been playing and the Raiders' defense for that matter, I ended up picking the upset in this one, so I've got the Raiders squeaking out a home victory. Although I think this will be a very closely contested game, I would have no problem picking Minnesota, especially if Justin Jefferson plays, as I said. So, Christian, who you got in this one?
Can't believe you, man.
I know. I'm sorry, buddy.
Well, I have, with Joshua Dobbs, I think hearing that he maybe could have got benched just by week, I think that might improve his play. He gets another week in the system. People really forget really how long he's been there. And I mean, I understand the turnovers in the last game they played did look bad, but it was a couple tip passes. Some of them was on him, but I just think another week in the system helps his Vikings. And I just think the Vikings defense, man, has really been playing a lot better week to week. And I think if they're coming how we know they're going to come out, and that's blitzing heavy, I think they can really get O'Connell kind of off his step, make him have to move around the pocket. But I will say they're going to have to get The running back for the Raiders not going. They're going to have to not let Josh Jacobs go, and if they do that, I really like the chances of the Vikings. But if they get the running game going for the Raiders, I can see it going in your favor. But I just think the Vikings offense is going to be too much for this defense to really handle and control. So I'm going with the Vikings.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely. I'm not far apart with you on that pick. It's going to be a tightly contested game, I would expect. The next one here has the makings of a potential shootout. I know the Niners defense is a very strong unit, but the Seahawks offense, especially DK Metcalf and company, looked very good Thursday night against the Cowboys. They just weren't able to put together that final drive to win that game. But now sitting at 6-6, we previewed this a couple weeks ago. They're in this gauntlet of a schedule. They're facing some really good teams. They need a big win to stay in the NFC wildcard hunt against a really good opponent. I think they're capable of making this a game, but I think this one ends up becoming a little bit more what we saw on Thanksgiving when these two teams matched up. And the San Francisco ground attack, especially, just really gets going with their ears back and get after Geno Smith once they have a lead. So that's what's got me picking San Francisco in this football game.
Yeah, I mean, I do like what Seattle's going. I think what Kenneth Walker's probably definitely. I'm not gonna say definitely not playing, but more than likely, I know he's not playing in this game. So that's another hit for a Seattle team that I think desperately needs him. But Seattle's defense has, I mean, improved a little bit week by week since they played the 49ers these last two games they played. But ultimately, I'm just the 49ers. I just think too much for the Seattle at this point. I mean, you just look at the roster, you see the talent difference, and we've seen kind of what you said. The last time these teams met, I think it was 31-13 or something like that. So 49ers put them out pretty easily. So I ain't gonna say it's gonna be like that. I think it will be a closer game, but I think once Christian McCaffrey get going, or it'll be Debo, one of these two stars will get going, and that's when the 49ers will just really take control of the game.
I would agree with you there, Christian. The next one, speaking of teams, a 6-6 Seattle team that desperately needs a win against a good team. How about the flip side of this? We got the 6-6 Buffalo Bills traveling to Arrowhead to take on the 8-4 Kansas City Chiefs, coming off that Sunday night loss to the Packers. Two teams very motivated to pick up a win. The Bills have coming off a bye week. The week before they played Philly, a great team, sent them to overtime, gave them a great football game. I think the Bills are actually low key playing better football than the Chiefs here recently, and they need a win more than the Chiefs. I know it's a hard place to get a win, but I think that and the fact that they had that extra bye week to prepare for this game, I'm going to pick the Bills in a bit of an upset to keep their AFC playoff hopes alive and steal a win in Arrowhead.
Dang, I did not see you going to Buffalo. So I thought I was maybe going to surprise you and go Buffalo. But I just think what we've seen, I mean, Jordan Love do. I mean, y'all know Brian has praised the guy, but I just don't compare definitely him and Josh Allen on the same level. And just seeing how easy it was for Jordan Love kind of scares me with how this KC defense is. I've been on the KC train on their defense at least, saying that it's a good unit, but Jordan Love maybe changed my mind a little bit on that. And I just think if he did it like that, Josh Allen might have a field day against his Chiefs team. So with that being said, Josh Allen, if he didn't have the turnovers, I think would be having an insane season right now. I understand the wins haven't been there for Buffalo, but there's been a lot of close games for this Buffalo team. And I just really see them winning this one, going on a little run, and actually sneaking into the playoffs. So I'm going to go with Buffalo. I think that's just they know the road they're going to have to go. This team's always been one of those teams that when it comes to big moments, yes, they failed, but I think this can be the season where the script goes kind of off course or not where they're supposed to be, but some way, somehow they're going to make it into the playoffs.
Me and you, same wavelength there, Christian. I think Josh Allen's too good and too much of a competitor to fall to 6-7 and let his AFC wildcard hopes get kind of dashed in this heated AFC wildcard chase, really. So I expect him to put up a big time performance in a big time game. That said, next up we've got your Chargers sitting at 5-7, hosting the now 6-6 Denver Broncos. Denver was in a game with Houston last week, and they had a chance to win it, and ultimately Russ couldn't get it done. Ended up throwing 3 picks in that game. I know your Chargers only won 6-0, but that defensive performance with Khalil Mack spearheading that is really giving me hope for that side of the ball. I don't fear Denver. It's still very limited. They're leaning on the ground game, so I don't think the offense can cook up a whole bunch. Whereas Justin Herbert, I think, can. Only thing for me is I need the Chargers to run the ball, whoever it is, Eckler, whoever, just get some type of ground game going a little bit more. If they do, I think they will, and it'll end up being enough for the Chargers to get this win and move to 6-7.
Yeah, I mean, dude, as a Chargers fan, this game's very tough for me to really. I mean, I thought back and forth. I really have. The season's just not going as planned, but ultimately, I kind of went down the route you did, and I just trust my quarterback definitely over what I've seen out of Russell Wilson. I just think if we get anything more out of Austin Eckler than we got for the past 2 weeks, we should come on top of this game. But I will say the defense has shown life. I think, there's a man out there. I'm not going to say his name, but the coach of the Chargers, who I think know he's on a hot seat. So I think with that and with this team, maybe kind of doing what I said about Buffalo, fighting for a playoff chance. And I think this team, like I said about Buffalo, know where they're supposed to be, and it's just been a rough season. So I think, these teams know each other well. I think it's going to be a very close game, but I just would hope, man, just hope that Justin Herbert's going to put some magic out there and give us the win.
Yep, I'm with you there, Christian. We're not differing a whole bunch from this pod. We're on the same wavelength in a lot of these picks. And these last three primetime games, there's one really good one. That's the Sunday night game, and then a couple lackluster Monday games. So we may end up agreeing a lot through this pod. But that said, we'll knock these last three picks out. The first one's going to be the Sunday night football game between the 10-2 Philadelphia Eagles coming off of that loss to San Francisco and the now 9-3 Dallas Cowboys, who had a few extra days to prepare thanks to their Thursday night win over the Seahawks. In Dallas, primetime, Sunday night football. This is for first place in the NFC East, so a lot of implications on this game. I think Jalen Hurts has not outplayed Dak Prescott throughout this season. I know AJ Brown's had a big year, and Jalen Hurts hadn't been terrible by no means, but I think he outplays Dak in this football game pretty handedly. And the Eagles pick up an assertive, maybe the win they've been looking for, a win that shows, hey, we're still one of the dominant teams, especially on the NFC side of things, and they firmly take hold of first place in the NFC East. So give me the Eagles on the road Sunday Night Football.
I actually went with the Eagles also. I just think my big takeaway was you look at this Cowboys team, and I think I talked a little bit on the last pod. It's really CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott making it happen. And then after that, you're looking at Ferguson, the tight end, with like only 400 yards on the season, and then Cooks is just now getting going. So, I mean, I like the Eagles just corner room to really maybe do what they can and maybe, Kevin Byard they picked up from Tennessee on the back end, maybe slow down CeeDee Lamb in this game, and that really be the difference maker, and let A.J. Brown and definitely get Swift involved. They went away from it last week because the game kind of, didn't go as planned, but they get Swift, the running game going, and A.J. Brown or even Devontae Smith. I see the Eagles putting on a show and maybe, I ain't going to say easily winning this. I think this will be a battle to the end, but I can see them come on top if they get their offense rolling back how we've seen it in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I would agree. This is a big time, probably the matchup of the week. If I had to pick any one game from this slate of 16 we have to choose from. So one we'll all be tuning into, and hopefully Sunday night when us three get together, we can recap a little earlier so we can watch every second because it'll be a game worth watching for sure. So Monday, we have two Monday night football games. Surprisingly, once you get later in the year, you tend to get these double dose of Monday nighters and maybe a Saturday night game, that Black Friday game, whatever you may have, since no team has bye weeks anymore. And that's the case this week in NFL Week 14. The first primetime Monday Night Football matchup is Brian's Miami Dolphins hosting the 4-8 Tennessee Titans. Obviously, Miami, Baltimore, KC, Jacksonville, all fighting for the one seed in the AFC. So beating teams you're supposed to beat very imperative. And I think Miami knows that. They're coached to know that. And they will take care of business in spades on Monday Night Football, if I had to venture to guess. Tyreek Hill sitting, I believe, just over 500 yards short of his goal of 2,000 yards with 5 games left to play, I believe, or what are they, 9-3? So yeah, 5 games left to play. I think he has a big night and maybe even cuts that total in half or close to it because Tennessee's secondary hasn't been good all year. So I think big things from Tyreek Hill come Monday night and a big Dolphins win.
Yeah, I mean, golly. I mean, I'm going
He can
Miami,
do
but
it. He can.
I see a path where Tennessee could do it if they get Derrick Henry going and if they get DeAndre Hopkins going. But like you said, just the Tennessee defense has been just so not good in the secondary. I just see Waddle and I see Hill, and I just go, "There's no way they would be able to keep up." Will Levis has had some great moments, but we've seen that his hot start kind of has went cold. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be Miami. Like I've been preaching, man. Just when can Miami play somebody? I can see it on the tape. But I mean, I'm going Miami. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it'd be well, definitely the running game for Miami will get going. I think in this one, and then it just be letting all their runners run.
Yeah, the track team will get loose if I had to guess in this football game. So last up is another Monday night game. It's an NFC matchup between the Green Bay Packers, who now sit at 6-6, traveling to MetLife to take on the 4-8 New York Giants. Not the one Monday Night Football and ESPN was probably hoping when they made the schedule preseason with these two teams. But Green Bay's been one of the hotter teams in the last 2 weeks, so maybe they'll have a little bit of an audience tuning in and just to watch Jordan Love and how that offense operates, which has been impressive. I think it'll continue to roll. The Giants just they're lacking a lot to stay up with Green Bay in this game, even though it's a home primetime football game. I think the crowd will be into it until it's not, and Green Bay takes that crowd out of it. And I think the Packers put on a show and move to 7-6 and take hold of that final wild card spot in the NFC.
Yeah, I think I hadn't looked at the Watson update about his hamstring, but I think even if he don't play in this game, Green Bay really has it. We seen last week Jordan Love get a lot of wide receivers involved, and I just think, I mean, that's something that the Giants don't have is wide receivers. So I just think Green Bay and that just guard and their defense. I mean, that's a defense we hadn't maybe gave enough praise to because what we've seen, I think maybe you could say the last 3 to 4 weeks, their defense really step up and play, and I think that's a lot of young guys on that defense that are finally understanding the NFL and getting a good grip on it. So I'm going Green Bay. I just think, just the Giants, man. God, it's just Barkley and then who?
Yeah. I'm completely with you there, Christian. We didn't differ a whole lot. There's only a handful of games you could really split down and maybe pick one side or the other in this NFL Week 14. We don't have Brian's picks on record here, but I would venture to say he's probably picking the same as us in a lot of these football games. So that's going to be it for our preview NFL Week 14 episode. As you guys, if you haven't tuned in to the takes episode of last week, please do so. We have that on your podcast feeds already. When we all three get together again, will be Sunday night to recap the NFL 14 week slate of action and recap before the Sunday night game of a whole bunch of great matchups for you guys. Christian started putting some more videos up on our Instagram, so if you hadn't checked that out, please do us a favor, give us a follow, some likes, and comment on those. A lot of the same stuff we get on our TikToks, and just trying to grow the community as much as we can, as I've preached before. So to anyone listening, thank you for doing so. Continue to like, share, subscribe, rate, and review, all those good things. And we will be together and recap every bit of action from Sunday's slate of football that Sunday night and have it for you Monday. Until then, guys, thank you for listening. Give us a follow on Twitter. I'm at Chase. Peace out.
Peace.